Okay, so this is my first video with the audio. I have gotten lots of questions on Facebook groups over quite some time now about my tanks, filtration, etc., etc. I'm not going to cover any of those subjects here today. I'm just going to tell you what my tanks mean to me, why I keep them. The 210 that you are looking at right now, I keep just so I can study the individual niche that each hap plays in their environment. It's really the tank that I look at when I am thinking about the evolutionary process in the lake and how each individual species has cut out its own specific niche and have developed the certain jaw structures, bone structure, and shape to fit the environment that they hunt in. So this is the tank I love to sit and watch anytime I am thinking about evolutionary side of African cichlids in the wild and in the lake, and it shows this group, I believe, shows the most diverse range amongst the haps. Okay, so this tank, and probably the most controversial that I keep, is this 125 OB Dragon Blood hybrid tank. I keep this tank because I do enjoy sitting and thinking about and looking at and learning the aspects of line breeding, gene manipulation. There's a lot of science behind gene manipulation, and it shows what humankind can do when they decide to put their hand in and start playing with genetics and species and changing animals to suit our needs, kind of the same way we have done with dogs. That's where all of our species and different breeds of dogs we have lineage all traces back to the wolf. So it is a very interesting subject, and as you can see, they produce very beautiful colors. You can make really beautiful aquarium fish to be kept through gene manipulation. There's a lot of it going on in the hobby, has been for a long time. I know it's a very touchy subject, but I still find it fascinating. These guys, as I'm sure all the Africans know, are on the more aggressive side and tend to over-dominate the pure species of most of your peacocks and haps. Trying to keep these guys in a mixed tank is really hit or miss in my opinion. I've done it for years with varying success. After a while, I determined I was going to keep them all together. They really do seem to be much more suited in each other's company. The aggression levels tend to balance out, even though they're more aggressive compared to a lot of the other Africans because of the lineage and the Mbuna blood and everything they have in there. They typically tend to be more aggressive than their peer species. Therefore, I've put them all in here to let them live together and be asses to each other, if you will, and the aggression level really has balanced out to what if you were to try to keep a all-male peacock tank of pure species. It's kind of odd, but it seems to work out that way. This one I would say is maybe a tad bit more aggressive than if you're keeping an all-male peacock tank, but not very much so at all. It was kind of an experiment I was running along with the filtration, which I'm not sure if you've seen any of the posts I made about that, but that's another controversial subject. But that's why I keep this tank. It's very interesting. It does keep me on my toes. As you can see, it requires a lot of maintenance with this type of bioload. But I truly do enjoy it, and I do not mind at all having to put the work in. This tank here is my 125 South American tank. The reason why I have this tank, and it sits right next to my bed, mind you, is this is the tank where I really feel I get more of a personal connection to the individual fish. In my opinion, the South Americans are definitely more personable. Not to say their personalities are any better or less than Africans, but it's a totally different vibe. You really get that connection to the individual fish in these tanks. Running just a couple Oscars in this one, and what's neat about this type of environment is you can put fish together that have totally different niches. They fit inside their own environment, where with the Africans, a lot of them are very similar. And the way that they feed, their habits, their breeding habits, the areas they live in the lake, etc., etc. These guys, you can get species that are so far unrelated from each other and get them to fit their own specific niche in the environment, and really get to know that individual fish, since you're not keeping multiples in the same family. So you really get to learn a lot about the individual species themselves, and you really get a connection with these guys that you just don't get the same level of with Africans. And I can definitely see why Oscars are considered the puppy dog of the aquarium hobby. This tank here is kind of a hodgepodge and my least favorite out of my 4 display tanks at the current moment. I've been using this one mainly to just grow out some haps that are on the more peaceful side that won't get along with the big boys in the 210, along with a few OBs that I had grown out from fry intending to go to the 125. I have multiples of a couple different species in here that I'm holding on to for some local friends that will be picking up. About 8 or 10 of these fish are going to be gone out of here. And my plan for this tank is to actually get it down to the Protomela species and a couple of the haps that are considered predators that tend to be on the more peaceful side, like your gar and your barracudas. Some of the haps like that, I'm going to keep a Giselle in this one, even though they do get quite large. But this is mainly my hap tank that is going to be on the more peaceful side, outside the more aggressive predators or the OBs. And more than likely is going to turn into either a Lethrinops or a Protomelis tank over time. Something that I can keep that's a little bit less rowdy, but still get a really good range of color, which is why I'm leaning more towards the Protomelis. And I think I would do good with Protomelis species and just a few of the more peaceful haps. The Rostratus in here is already spoken for, as is the Comp. One of the Gars are already spoken for. The Rhodesii Yellow is already spoken for. So the bigger boys that are going to get loud and rowdy are going to be out of here soon. And I do have one South American in here that is actually the boss of the tank, but doesn't cause any issues. That is just waiting to get the size and the temperament needed to be able to be introduced into my South American tank. So this is kind of temporary holding for him for here, and I've learned that it has actually worked out considerably well so far. So those are my tanks that I have been keeping for the last probably year and a half now to get to this point of just my 4 displays. I really decided I didn't want to run down the breeding avenue anytime soon until I really have the free time necessary to be able to dedicate myself to it and do it right and have some really nice clean lines of fish. That'll be more for like retirement age. Anyways, this is what my tanks that I'm keeping right now and what they mean to me, and I hope you all enjoyed. Have a good one.